north of Detroit. We are a one-to-one school district. We have iPads K through 8 and then MacBooks 9 through 12. So my background, how I got into this, is I was a classroom teacher for 19 years. I did 7th grade. I also then did 4th grade for about 15 years. And I moved into the instructional technology coach about 2013. Part of my training is I went to what was called the Apple Academy, spent a week in Cupertino with an immersive experience, and we worked with Apple trainers to become the train-the-trainer model. So we spent a week in Cupertino working with people, learning about all the different iPads, MacBooks, iLife, iWork, the whole system. And then I came back and I just kind of been pushing that training out as I go. So the PBS Digital Innovator, I wanted to mention that. Last year, I got that for the state of Michigan, and every year they do the contest for the open for application for PBS Digital Innovator, and that's open again now. So if you put in for that and you get it, you get a 3-day trip paid for by PBS, and you get some training there, and that was a lot of fun last year. We were in Colorado for 2 days, or 3 days, and spent 1 day at ITSE, and we were at a hotel, and we had about 4 keynote speakers come in and work with us. And our buildings received 1 free year of PBS Digital Media, the premium subscription. And you have to do some trainings and do some blog participations. It's not really a lot of work that's required of you after that, but it's a good experience. And I think the application closes Monday or Tuesday. So you still have time to put together a short video and just kind of fill out the application piece. And who knows, you could get it. So just wanted to throw that out there. Okay. So we're here today, we're talking about strengths-based leadership, and this comes from a book called The Innovators Mindset. And I heard about this book on Twitter, of all places, and somebody was tweeting about some really good resources in here and some concepts in here, and I thought this would be kind of a nice read, and I looked through some of the reviews and I picked it up. So basically it looks at changing innovation in education and embracing the open culture of learning, and kind of some different methods of seeking and measuring progress. And of course, strength-based leadership, which we're going to talk about. That's one of the chapters in the book today. So we are 4 years into our one-to-one, and we're running into the issue where, because of the culture of testing, a lot of our teachers have fallen into, we're using IXL, so we're using technology. Has anybody kind of run into that in your districts at all? You can kind of raise your hand or a thumbs up or something. But the idea of this is that's not really what integrating technology or being innovative with technology is, just going to a website and doing, a drill and kill type thing. So the idea of this is what is there? What are some more things we can do? And in the book, they kind of talk about these two things. If you take a look at these slides, you have what is technology, what you want your students to be doing, right and wrong answers, and what you want staff to be doing. So some of this presentation talks a little bit about students, and some of it is a little bit about other people you may work with and have to motivate. So for example, in here, making prezzies, that's nice, but the idea is they're actually looking at raising more awareness. And again, starting blogs, and again, actually speaking out more of your stories. So a lot of these things in here, when you look at what you do, you kind of go, we are making some videos, but are we making videos that are influencing a change? And that's the kind of things they're looking at. And the same thing with your technology leaders. Are you just tweeting out the tweet, or are you building up some relationships? And this whole group is kind of part of that. We're building these relationships from across the state, which is really great because we're making some good connections and having some great conversations. So one of the things, and I kind of like, this is the video I have for to show you this, and hopefully this will all work. Move everybody over here. This is kind of the concept of of becoming more of an innovative person. Hopefully this plays and you can hear it okay. And you have the link for this in your slide as well.
I used to be a cat. Every day the same. I'd be aloof till lunch, then coldly indifferent after. me, everything was just, yeah. Then it hit me. Why be so cat? Why not be a bit more dog? I mean, look at the world today. It's amazing. Running, amazing. Chasing cars, amazing. Sticks, amazing. Carpe diem. It means grab the frisbee. Maybe we should all be a bit more dog. Be more dog. Start now at bemoredog.com. O2.
Okay, hopefully you were able to see that. I kind of like that video. It kind of cracks me up. And it gives you the idea of, taking what your technology, what you're doing, changing it up a bit, and again, be more dog. So we're going to look at Answer Garden here, and I want to try to use this for discussion piece. And what I want to know is, what do you think of when it comes to innovation in education? What comes to mind? And I want to find my little Answer Garden here. I'm going to put that in. I'll put the link on the sheet so you guys can kind of go at that. And I have to make a new Answer Garden. Oh, hopefully we can make a new Answer Garden. Let's try it on this page. Here we go. So we make a new one. So now with this link, I'm going to put this link in the copy on this form here.
Hey, Andy, can you just, while you're using this tool, just kind of mention what it is so that everybody understands it?
Oh,
it's a pretty neat
sorry.
tool.
I was trying to make sure I got it in here really quick. So
No,
Answer
it's
Garden,
fine.
it's a place where it's a website where you can go, and you saw how quickly I didn't even have a username. I just kind of set up a question, and then I can type an answer here, and it appears down the screen. So the link I put up here should take everybody to this page. And as people type in answers, you'll see a word wall appear. Was that link working?
Yeah, it is. The only issue is that it's taking a minute. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, here we go. I had to refresh my screen. Okay, some great answers here. Trying new things, changing mindsets, student ownership, beyond classroom walls.
Yeah, I think that, I'm sorry, chiming in, that student ownership is a really good point.
Yeah, and please feel free to chime in, everyone. It's fine. This is open discussion. But this is I like this method of Answer Garden because then you can do this in trainings too as well, and having your staff participate a little bit. Personal learning, that's very important in growth, beyond textbooks. I have an example of that. What I'm working on a project with one of my groups. All right, go back to my presentation. Go. have too many tabs open.
Sure.
Did I close it? I don't think I closed it. Let's just bring it up again.
I see one that says presentation.
Yeah, that's sheet here. That's your sheet to follow the activity. I may have closed it inadvertently. So the idea of this is focusing on a student's strength or a staff member's strength and not looking at the weaknesses. And one of the concepts of this chapter is thinking about what are some things you do when a student's struggling in your classroom, or if you're working with somebody's struggling, what are some things you do? Maybe do packets, maybe, you know, extra homework time after school, you keep them in at recess, and some of these things may focus and seem rather negative. And the idea is to look at what a student's interests or likes are and try to push that for the extra activity to learn the activity. So what strength-based leadership means is you're focusing on interest, learning opportunities and growth, student empowerment, and it's not a deficit model, so you're not looking at the negatives of a student. And again, this works with staff members that you're working with too as well. Now, there's the next slide has some information about 2005 or 2007, a study they did about how well your boss pays attention to you and your interest and how well you disengage. And to me, this is kind of shocking. So if your boss just kind of ignores you, lets you go on your way and do what you want, it showed about 40% disengagement. And then you have, you know, the boss focuses on just your weakness, that you have maybe a 22% disengagement. But if your boss focuses on your strengths, it's a 1%. And to me, that's huge. Now, you think about this, we've all gone through this at work. There's times where you're really busy and you got a lot of people needing you for things, and there's times where no one's calling you about anything. Everybody's all involved in their own thing, and you can kind of get very disengaged with work, like, what am I doing here? What's the point of all this? And the same kind of concept with working with students like that too. We're going to try this one here. So how do you tap into the student strengths that you work with? So we're going to go back to Answer Garden. We're going to do this one more time. It's moving slow. We also have the iPad app going. This may not let me do it. It didn't. Okay.
Can we post our answers in the chat?
In the what?
In the chat.
Yeah, that would be a better way to do it then, because that's obviously going too slow. So I just posted the general question out there. I like the risk taking.
Hey, Jess, you're sharing directly to me.
All right. So a couple examples, 2 examples I kind of pulled out. I'm going to show up here. And this one was done on the left side here, this on the small iPad, is done in kindergarten. So what we did is, I call it pumpkin tech. Students had to grow seeds, and we wanted to try to do some journaling. And we actually used an app called StoryKit, which is actually an iPhone app, and it's not even an iPad app, but it works really well. So we put together this idea of they would take a picture of the pumpkin seed as a group. They could then decorate or not decorate in the background, but they wanted to journal out the answers. So how do we journal? Is with their own voice. This app allows a little recorder, and students can, obviously kindergarten, they're not going to be very strong writers. They can go ahead and they can just record out what they did. And then they could have another page about a week later, and then they could go from there. And you could see some growth and interest and excitement in doing this, because that's a great way for doing that. Now, Seesaw, I just saw the chat about Seesaw. I've been looking at Seesaw, and we're going to be experimenting with it. But this is one method I like, because we could just quickly do it free and easy, and they could just kind of go from there. But the Seesaw app too, that's something we want to look into and try. Now the other one is SWAT, our Students Working to Advance Technology, and this is my tech team that does the news broadcast. So there's not a lot of direction I'm giving these kids. It's a lot of more facilitating. They're coming up with script ideas, things they want to talk about in the building, and they're pretty motivated. So this is kind of nice as well. In fact, I'm going to jump down to some links in the next slide here. The site here, which is our SWAT news site, and some of these may or may not come through. This last one here, bloopers, we had to empty out the iPad because we filled it up with all these videos. So they wanted to make a blooper reel. So I said, okay. And the only thing I did was say, sure, go ahead. And the next time I saw it, when it was done, before I posted it on the site, to make sure it was okay to post. Otherwise, they did it all. They worked on their own time, and they went through all the raw footage that we had saved up on the 32 gig iPad, and they put it together, and then they had a lot of fun making this little reel. So that was kind of one example there. Now, the other thing that we've kind of done is we've created our team created a book. Now, this is a larger project, and we go on here to iBooks. We actually made a SWAT book, and the idea of this is students who want to become on the SWAT team can read this book, and most of this had a lot of student writings in here about what it means to be on SWAT, responsibilities. There's an example of our news video, and there's questions. So the theory is as students go through this book, they can download this book, and they can prepare themselves to join the SWAT team. But the tutorials and activities in here were written by the students. And I had to do a lot of editing, but we went over shot types, the equipment we use, camera techniques, and they wrote a lot of these. They did a lot of screencasting tutorials on how to use iPads for editing and Keynote and all these things. So this is, they're pretty excited about this. They were really excited to get this done, and they're very excited to show people what they're doing. And this link right here, you can actually download it from Dropbox if you have an iPad. Excuse me, you want to see that. So that's the concepts of the strength-based leadership. Now, there's some questions that they give you in the book, and I want to try to do this type of activity. On this sheet here, the presentation sheet, there are 3 Google Docs. So what I'd like people to try to do is to go to pick one Google Doc to go to, and collaboratively add some information to answer these questions. And then we're going to kind of go through the presentation and kind of share out. We're going to try this and see how this works. I've taught a basic class at Baker College using Google Hangouts. This is one of the methods, excuse me, one of the methods I would use working with the students. I would share out a bunch of sheets, and we would kind of work on these sheets collaboratively. So you go to this slideshow, and you should have editing rights. And This is question 1. Current strengths of your organization. What are the current strengths of your organization, and how do you continue to move them forward? And just go ahead down here at the bottom and type in a few things. So you can kind of go to each one of these and add a few things, or, you know, just stick on one. It's kind of your choice. So is that kind of clear? If I'm going to bring my chat back up so I can hear this, see this here. If that's not clear, put something in the chat. So the idea is.
Yeah, this is clear, Andy. It makes sense. I think it's something we can do.
All right. So we're just going to try to go to each one and answer a few questions, and then we'll kind of look back at each one and share it out. So we'll take a couple minutes on this. Somebody requested permission for a form, and maybe I didn't set the permissions right here. Okay.
This is a cool tool that you're using, Andy. Do you want to discuss or kind of mention it when we got everybody back together?
Which tool?
What you're doing with the form and your approach to just randomly.
Oh, okay.
I know I've used something similar in the classroom, and actually I think it might be the same site, but it was awesome. So just might be something we want to share out too.
Okay. So I think Kit sent that one out, that link, and that was the random name picker, and it's from classroomtools.net. So basically, I wanted to try to figure out a way for us all to randomly draw names. And I have a picker app on my iPhone, and I thought, well, I could connect my iPhone, but then that could be awkward if, technology issues and such. So then what I thought was, why not use a Google form, have everybody sign in at the start, and then I just copy and paste the names in. And it worked fairly well. I did the practice on this, even though this is a form and it has the little tables in there. When you go into the random picker, you just hit the edit and it pastes right in. It doesn't care that it was from a cell. So that way we have this and we can do our random drawing in a few minutes. So I like that one. When I was teaching a class on Google Hangouts, that became the challenge is how to do attendance, because you have to have attendance. It's a requirement. So what I did is I made a Google form, but I required students to sign in. And yes, another student could sign in under a different student. You can't control all of that. But that's how I kept track of that. And then each week, I would copy the Google form, but I would assign it to the same spreadsheet. So each week I'd have a new tab down here at the bottom showing all my different attendances for the 10 weeks of the classroom. So, all right.
Awesome. Thanks.
We're going to go back here to question 1, and here's some things people put on here. Organization wants to change. I continue to push change and new ideas. Forward thinkers to new ideas. They have money and spend it wisely and useful. Where do you work? That's awesome. Because sometimes we battle that, and that's not an easy one to do. So we have organization wants to change, but the issue we're having in our district is some individual classrooms don't want to change, and getting that platform to change is kind of difficult, and it's always a challenge in that sense. All right, so another group here. Whoa, holy smokes! All right. Identifying teacher leaders who are able to advance their own teaching as well as teaching and learning of their peers. Provide target training to those individuals so that they can replicate the learning for others in the building. The leader teachers are important, and we try to do that here as well because we always want to have teachers in place that can be the mentor and be that leader teacher, a go-to person if someone else is not available to help them. Teachers are content expert. I remember this and try to show them how much I respect the profession. I also try to make sure they are in a supportive environment. I do hand-holding as needed, but ultimately help instill the confidence and try new things. Exactly. And one of the techniques I've used is, you may have used this with some of the teachers you work with. They want you to spend an entire day doing the same activity with them, and this is typically in the high school. I had a teacher who wanted me to do this process with Google Slides, and she wanted me to come in each hour and do the same process. And what I did is said, I can't do that. I'm going to come in for a few hours, but by the end, you will be able to do that process the rest of the day. So you do the little bit of the hand holding, but you want to make sure that they're on their own and able to take care of that as they go.
So Andy, do you just tell them that, like, going into it, like, I will be there to start with you, but I cannot stay all day, or how do you approach that conversation?
I tell them that in the very beginning. I tell them in the very beginning, I will not be there the whole day. I can't do that. And especially if it's the same process. In elementary, of course, you're in and out in maybe an hour or so with an activity, right, because the elementaries change. But your middle school, high school, they have that reoccurring class. And, to just sit there the whole day and do the same thing over and over and over, you're helping the students, but the job is also to help the staff. And, focus on I also learned from the mistake of sitting there all day that teacher will tune out, or they'll start making copies, or they'll be grading papers and they're not paying attention to anything. So when I tell them, nope, you only got me for half a day, that means I'll work with you in the morning, but the afternoon, it's on you. I get a little more engagement and they're paying attention a little more of what they're doing.
All right.
So. Yeah,
and I feel like I start getting taken advantage of when you get stuck there all day.
Yep, exactly.
You have a free period or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This one is important here. Using the curriculum that teachers teach. I've gotten this so many times where somebody will call me and say, I need you to do a technology project with me. And I'm like, no, I need to do what you're doing in your curriculum, and we'll work on adding technology to it. And that's a big one that I deal with a lot too. A lot of responses on question 2. This is good. Teacher provides lead-in activity for staff professional development. That's always a good little catch, like that little video I showed. I kind of like that one. I'm going to be using that one as we got some training coming up here at the end of March. We have Apple educators coming on site. I'm going to use that as far as the introduction part of it is to be more dog. And I'll mention that in a second here about the video. Teacher leader in a building meets with other district building leaders. Absolutely. And having that cohesion is important, understanding how this process is building from building to building and scaffolding. One of the little things about the SWAT team is we started it in our elementary, and when they get to middle school and high school, we have a nice lab that we just built for video production and multimedia. The idea is that to kind of hook on that, we start here and we're playing with iPads. When you get to the high school, you're going to be playing with some really cool big equipment. And question 3, balance of micromanaging. Tough question. Use the gradual release process to model, then slowly hand back the power. That's good. I like that. You can kind of demonstrate and show and then slowly put that back in. Balance between the two, make a decision. If you want to coach for performance or to coach for development, performance keeps coming back to help the next step. That's interesting. That's good. And then, we've got the text box in the way I can't see it. Teacher has to be involved in the steps and all the way. Don't tell what to do. That's important because the teacher will just want that. You want that, the teacher growing that way. Wow. There's 2 of you and 600 staff members? Where's this at? What district has 600 staff members?
We're in Portage down in Kalamazoo.
Holy.
And that includes teachers and all of our other staff as well. So.
Wow. I have 72 and it's just me. And I'll never complain again. Never again. Now,
yeah, it's an adventure. We have 14 buildings plus our admin building.
Have you ever heard of a concept called, this is off subject, TILT?
No, I don't think so.
Teachers Integrating and Learning Technology. And when I was at PBS this summer, there was a teacher that was in a similar situation. And what they did is they started what's called a TILT program. They would use cohorts that they would start with a small group of cohorts, and they would only work with those teachers throughout that year. And then and they would have like a process. I think the first year they focused heavily on just application integration. The second year they focused heavily on development, and the third year those teachers became the leaders, and then they would bring in a new cohort.
Yeah, we do that with our pilot groups. So we have pilot groups K through 12 that we run different programs with, and they are kind of our teacher leaders that we use throughout the district, and then they go back to their buildings and share what they learned and be the leaders for their specific department or group.
Okay, that's kind of the same concept. I said that might help with that. Someone had a hand raised.
Oh, me. Jessica, you should tell them the most exciting part is that you are taking your district 1-to-1, right? So it's even better.
Yeah, it's busy.
What with?
Chromebooks.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah, we are currently in the process. We have our 3, 4, and 5 rolled out now. Just finished that. We'll be starting all of our freshmen and sophomores next year. Year after that will be probably K2 as well as another grade level at the high school, and hopefully 6th grade in there as well. So it's a process, but keeps us busy. What?
How many devices?
Right now we have well over 5,000 devices in the wild.
Wow.
So
Wow.
Chromebook devices. That doesn't include all of our teacher computers and things like that. So.
What are you managing them with?
Google Admin.
Google Admin. Okay.
Yep. So
actually
going pretty well as far as that part's concerned. But
I did a Skype call with Mobile, Alabama schools because they contacted me about the technology we use in our district, and they had iPads, they had MacBooks, they had Chromebooks, they had Windows laptops, and I asked what their management was, and they said, we don't have anything yet, we haven't decided. So they had a ton of stuff out there, and they had absolutely zero management on it. And they're a huge district.
Mm-hmm.
They're like one of the biggest districts in the state.
Right.
I was just amazed by that. I was like, holy smokes. All right, so that kind of gives you the concept of the strengths-based management and the idea of that. So I hope some of these questions were kind of thought-provoking and helpful with that. Let's go to our random generator here, and let's give this a try. Can everybody see this okay? And we want to spin. So Courtney, Kelly, are you writing these down?
Yeah, I am. I just will need email address. So Courtney, would you send it to me, please?
And I'm gonna remove Courtney's name here. You got it? You're good?
I'm good. Thanks.
Removing.
Got him. Got Jess.
All right. Last but not least.
Yay, Sherry.
All right.
Cool.
And I hope this has been helpful. I've also put on the form it's links to my Weebly that has the information about the SWAT team on there and the different books, and my contact information's on there as well.
Hey, you know what? I'm sorry. I don't see Courtney in the room anymore. Do you guys see her? I have Jess's info, yeah. Want to run somebody else? Carrie, you win.
Exciting. You guys can draw somebody else, though. Thank you, though.
The odds are getting better.
Yep. All right, Melissa. Melissa's still here. I gotcha.
All right. Any questions, closing thoughts anybody has before we kind of close this one out?
That was awesome, Andy. Thanks so much. A lot of great stuff. I think you're going to be like a counselor for some of us now. We can ideas.
Happy to help anytime. We also set up are you guys on iTunes U? We set up our iTunes U public site, and these are different activities. As I work with teachers, I put, and that's the SWAT book there, I put these activities in here, and you can actually see student examples of some of these activities. So this is on iTunes U, and we have the public site, and you search Harper Woods District Schools or Harper Woods Public Schools, and you can find our public site on iTunes U. This is another great way of getting your information out there and sharing ideas.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy.
All right. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your morning.
Yeah. I'm going to stop the recording.
Sharing here.